But it really wasn't high quality because by the time I got home, I'd smeared half of it. But they owned the market. They absolutely owned the market. Xerox did. But they became transactional. And they allowed Canon to come in with the small copier, the desktop copier, and completely take over the market. Xerox is no longer the industry leader. Canon is. Let me give you another. Walmart. I don't want to talk about Walmart. I don't like Walmart. Let's just do Apple. Apple computer. I know somebody had an Apple computer. Does anybody have an Apple computer in this room? One person, and he belongs to a cult. An Apple computer. Could I ever talk you into giving up your Apple computer? Can I talk you into giving it up, trading it? If the price is right, he's a business professor. The bottom line is Apple computers love their apples. But Apple computer, under Steve Jobs, when he was the CEO, completely revolutionized. Always something new. And I'll tell you what, Bill Gates and Microsoft, they were miles behind. They couldn't keep up with Steve Jobs and Apple. But then all of a sudden, Apple Computer decided, we don't need to be revolutionary anymore. They fired Steve Jobs. They fired Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, and I've heard Steve talk about this, and Steve Jobs was very disappointed, crushed about losing his job of the company that he started. These people became transactional, and they allowed Microsoft to catch up. They allowed other companies to catch up. And so computers now, they lost their competitive advantage. And they lost customers. And they lost their edge in the market. They were no longer the cutting edge. They were no longer the industry leader. And this is about 1990. Steve Jobs, on the other hand, he cried a lot. And then went out and started a company called Pixar. And Pixar makes all of the animated movies. And then Disney bought Pixar from Steve Jobs for many billions and billions and billions of dollars. And Steve Jobs smiled. And Steve Jobs then took that and started another company. And then Apple decided, you know what? We're not making it. We need to be thinking differently. We're not being entrepreneurial anymore. So you know what they did? They said, Steve, would you please come back? So they brought back the revolutionary. They brought back the guy that could think. And Steve Jobs comes back. And the first thing he did was say, well, the first thing we can do is make computers so that they're not just gray. So now you can get them in different colors. Yours is white, right? Yeah, this is white. You don't have to have them gray like my gal. So he brought out all kinds of different colors. But then he thought, we will never gain this advantage again. We need to be thinking about something different. You know what he came up with? iPods. How many have an iPod? Yeah. I mean, iPods. Everybody bought iPods. Everybody bought iPods. And completely revolutionized that industry. And now you have iPods, iPhones, iMusic, I mean, anything with an I. I don't know about you, when I see the letter I anymore, I'm no longer thinking the letter I. I'm thinking Steve Jobs has done it again. He owns the alphabet. The bottom line is that they revolutionized the way we listen to music, the way we communicate. And now he's revolutionizing again. There's not a day that goes by that these people aren't thinking, what's the next big step? Steve Jobs is an entrepreneur. He's a revolutionary. He's an entrepreneur. If Steve Jobs wasn't there, they lost their markets. They lost their markets. Now, remember, when it comes to revolution, it can be forecasted or truly revolutionary. All right? The bottom line is this. This is great, too. There's a man at Harvard by the name of Christensen who did research, and he said that companies invest aggressively in technologies necessary to retain their current customer, and that's great. But then they fail to make certain other technological investments that's going to give them the customer of the future. And that's a problem. If you're not thinking of the future customer, you're transactional. He said, leading companies succumb to the most popular and valuable of management dogmas. They stay close to their customers. Boy, when I say this to my marketing professors, they just go nuts. No, you got to stay close to your customer. You got to stay close to your customer. But when you stay close to your current customer without thinking of the customer of the future, you become transactional, and you lose, and you will become irrelevant in your markets. I'm going to hop right through to this one. This is what I mean. This is performance of the product. This is the performance of the service. This axis is time. This is the industry. That's the industry. And this slope shows that the industry always makes improvement over time. Transactional improvement. For example, I can almost guarantee you that in your industry, over the last year, somebody learned a way to cut costs. And the competitor said, we can do that too. And another competitor says, we can do that too. And the whole industry moves up and they do the same thing. Banks are terrible at this. If you're in banking, I'm going to come up with e-banking so you can do your banking on the internet. How long did that advantage last? Until the next bank learned it. And they did it, and they did it, and they did it. Now everybody, if you're going to be in the game, if you're going to be in banking, you better make this advancement. Right? The industry over time, if you cut your price, what does your competitor do? They've got to cut their price. And it's just the way it goes. It's just the way it is. And so over time, the industry will make change. But these are small changes. But watch what happens. You've got a new idea down here. And this can happen within a company. And if it happens within a company, that's called entrepreneurship. If it happens outside the company, that's entrepreneurship. Pharmaceutical companies that make drugs do it both ways. Pharmaceutical companies invest heavily in research and development for new drugs. So they're down here. They come up with an idea. But here's the difference. The performance of that new idea early on is much lower than the industry. And the industry looks at this and goes, that's just stupid. That's just dumb. But the performance increases at a faster rate than the industry. By the time the industry is here, and these guys are here, customers are now jumping off to the new technology. And for many companies, it's too late. Let me show you what I mean. Let's take the computer storage industry. Try this. I love this. How many of you can remember this? I see smiles. Me too. 14-inch drive. This was a 14-inch floppy. How? Okay, you young people, how many times have you lost a stick? You didn't lose a 14-inch floppy. You didn't lose it. And I'm telling you, everybody had a 14-inch floppy. What was amazing, though, is somebody came up with the 8-inch floppy. And you know what? It was, let me try this. It was, here's the 14-inch, here's the 8-inch. These guys didn't see it at all. They did not see this. They said, that's so small, 8 inches. That's so small. Ours is 14 inches. Bigger is better. And they ignored these guys altogether. Guess what? Every company that made this went out of business. Every company. They did not see the revolution. Every company that made the 8-inch drive didn't see the 5 1/4-inch drive. The 5 1/4-inch drive drove every 8-inch drive out of business. Every company that made this driver, now the companies that made the disc, some of the 3M you recognize, they stayed in business, but the driver, out of business. We have a 5 1/4-inch drive. I remember the 5 1/4-inch drive. Can you remember the revolutionary change they had? They went from single-sided, single density to double-sided, double density. I thought, that's it, I'm done, I need no more. I need no more. Life is good. I have a double-sided, and that's another box that I carry like this. What come next? What came next? 3.5 inch came next. Now, these guys are getting smart now because they said, wait a minute, what's coming next? And they jumped on and they said, we're going to make a 3.5 inch drive. Okay. What comes after the 3.5 inch drive? The zip drive. Isn't the zip drive? How many of you owned a zip drive? How long did it last?